So Cisco is a technology company that's been in existence for over 25 years now. And when we look back at where we started, it was about making connectivity of computing devices. And in those days, those computing devices were very limited. There would be big PCs and big computers, and pretty much that was it. Today, with the transforming technologies that we've got, with digital in our hands, digital in our cars, digital in our homes, the big ambition that Cisco had was about changing the way that we lived, learned, worked, and played. And I think through this presentation that I've got, I'm stealing an awful lot of information from a man called Peter Hinson, who defined a model called the new normal. That where we are today is at that inception, that tipping point of the new normal, of using technology, but technology for our personal sake, our business sake, not just because we want to heat up the planet. So we have to look to the future, and even Albert Einstein wasn't very keen on doing that. He didn't like the look of what it was. It was a bit of a scary place, but knew that we had to look to that and embrace it and use it to inform our lives and what we did there. But then when we get to the reality about it, there's no money in the pot. The government came in, the cupboards were bare. So things that informed our business lives, our home lives, and our learnings, all those things have to be framed with the fact of what we want to do against what we've got in the pocket and the ability to do that there. And austerity is a word that, if we don't hear it in every news broadcast, I don't know what news broadcasts we're watching these days. But for me, working predominantly in local government, austerity has been the major word that people talk about over the past few years now. But if I remember going back 4 or 5 years, I would talk to a chief technologist and he said, you know what, Keith, if I had to save 20% rather than 3%, that might be a better thing, because it would make us do things differently. It would make us embrace technologies and business change in a much more effective way, rather than trying to squeeze our suppliers. And in some ways it's unfortunate. You've got to be careful what you wish for, because that person has now got his challenges about they must change the way that they do things to drive the efficiencies. And that austerity is really significant. Now, Hinson talks about this new normal, where on the left-hand side there, we've got the digital devices, technologies are a novelty. That let me go back to my youth, which is in a dim and distant past, but 30 years ago, there were no computers in my schools. If you go to a school now, there are masses of computers in there. The technological use of those computers is about innovation, about video, about collaboration, about pulling things from the internet to inform the learning outcomes that go on in those places. So we're on the right-hand side now, where digital is the normal that we have. But that part in the top right-hand quadrant is what Hinson calls the new normal. And that's really where we're talking about today, where the left-hand side, technology is the novelty, it's scarce. If you had the digital, you were different to somebody else, and maybe you got a business advantage. Now, on the right-hand side, everybody has it. If we had to empty our pockets now, I'm sure we'd have an awful lot of smartphones, with tablet PCs, with stuff in our car, our ability to drive the internet through the TV at home, wherever it is changing how we do things. And at the weekend, we had Twitter. 20 years ago was the first, a text message 20 years ago was the first text message. We sent text messages just without thinking. People thought it would be a business tool. It's a social tool. It allows us to communicate so much more effectively. And the technology really is a core activity to how people are doing businesses now. The businesses grow up, start and develop because they can, because they've got the technology, and the price of entry to a new business is so much less than it was many years ago. But if you've got the network, and Cisco developed networking technologies over the last 25 plus years, it meant people were connected. But it's what you do on those networks that really drive your business being transformed. How do you market now? Well, my local restaurant was opening up a new branch and asking me to friend the restaurant on Facebook. How the heck can you friend an inanimate object? But that's a general use of wording now. And of course, I got a voucher out of it for a cheaper Sunday afternoon lunch on it. So happy about that. They get greater football. But that marketing awareness, the crowdsourcing of information and gathering there really gets driven by the use of all our technologies that go onto that. In the days not too far away, it used to be the IT department said what went. The business would come and say, I'd really love to be able to do certain things. And they say, no, no, you can't do that. It has to change, and it has changed, where IT doesn't rule the land anymore. It says, okay, I'll see how we do it. It's always, yes, we will do it that way. But the technology has to fit the purpose, you know, to the point just made before. If you use technology in an ineffective way, what's the point? And in Manchester City Council, to look at this video, I'll run it again. It's quite a quick video on that. Technology needs to be aimed at Doris in Manchester. Doris could be a work returner. She maybe not grown up with technology, but she has to embrace it now to run her job. When she left work, technology was one thing. When she came back, was another. And let's get that. So there we can see Doris typing away and off there. Now, a lot of you how many of you have not even used a typewriter? You know, it's a real strange thing there. But then the technology, again, if we don't educate and inform the consumers of it, and not everybody has grown up with it, we're not all Generation Y people. We need to make sure that they embrace it, they adopt it, and change the cultures about doing it. That home working doesn't suit everybody, but it does if it gives me something back. If I can work on my timescales, if I can deliver my outputs when it's the most appropriate for me, working in conjunction with my family, but the business can take advantage of that, that's okay. And if this particular chap now had some education, maybe he wouldn't have fallen foul of this particular little problem there. Hopefully we can see the immediate impact of this. So he has the technology, he has the tools to do a job there, but he's still not knowing how to use it properly then. So nowadays IT doesn't rule the land. The businesses and what they need to do, whether it's from marketing, from product development, to product production, or developing applications in creative media world, it has to be those technologies, those working practices that inform the technology that works there. So there's a big term now of consumerization, but for me consumerization really means standardization, that if I know that my technology will work with a partner's technology, with a consumer's technology, will drive greater adoption, greater use, get better business outcomes as a result of it, and potentially the costs go down. And that all works much more efficiently. The fact that we've got so many tablets and other devices and smartphones and all that sort of how we consume that technology is very important to me. Now Cisco has been at the heart of developing all those collaboration tools. And when the iPhone came out and delivered video to a handheld device in a high quality world, that was quite a departure from anything that we'd done before. But now people are doing that in the way that they consume, the way that they work, the way we deliver medical services. And those video collaboration tools are really a part of how Cisco does transform our business and informs the way other people do that there. But our modern life is very much like this, that we use the same technology to work, to live, to play. And when Cisco came up with this concept of changing the way we lived, learned, worked, and played, that was 20 years ago, which you think, what a lofty ambition that is. But 80% of the traffic now that goes across the internet goes across Cisco equipment. Next year, we reckon that 80% of the traffic that will go across the internet will be video. It used to be email. It used to be dull, blank, no animation web pages. Our way of doing business has changed to where it was maybe 100 plus years ago. We're back to face-to-face. We're back to person-to-person. Our marketing is now, again, more in tune with word of mouth than it was in the village of 150 years ago. If I see something good, I'll inform my friends. I'll tell my pals that the tree house that I friended on Facebook is a good place to go to, and they'll go. And that really has changed the way we do things. So quickly running back, a Generation Y person, do they know the relationship between those two things there? I swear that my granddaughter doesn't. I'm not sure my son does, who's 20. But if you're from an analog world, you know the relationship between those two things there. Generation Y, again, they believe that work is the time between using good technology. At home, they've got better technology than they had in the workplace, and that never happened 10 years ago. The things have been driven by the home and the consumer environment now to what we expect to do in work, with better collaboration, better networking, better, more easy access. Everybody who's got a tablet's probably logged on to the Faisley Studios wireless network. Wireless networking technologies is now like electricity. We expect it to be there and always on where we go to. And those technologies are transforming how and where we do business. Groups and communicate, that's where we are again. The Pope has started to tweet today. We might feel blessed about that. I don't know what we all think about it, but it shows a change. When Jesus Christ stood on the mountain and gave down the words, maybe he was doing it to a bit smaller community than the Pope can reach now. But it is about how we're using technology to do that. And data has just exploded. The Tesco is a data company. They're a bank. I bank with them. I spend money with them. I buy my booze from them. They know more about me and my habits than the government. And they're in that data mining business, which changes the way that they market to all of us and how that they bring products to market, and all that sort of stuff is enabled by network technologies and the interconnectivity and how we consume it. So innovation, information is the new oil. It has currency, it has value, it can be used in so many different things. And Adidas use that. They run running shoes with chips inside that know where we've been, how fast we go, and that data has a marketing tool, a marketing value to lots of other people. So what does it mean to Cisco? That Cisco started off making boxes that connected to other people, but that was not significant. That didn't change what people did. It's when you started layering on top of that services that people communicated on. Internet telephony, IP telephony. Cisco drove that and drove the adoption of that, where every telephone pretty much now in business has an internet protocol technology coming out of the back. That allows so much flexibility. It's driven costs down, it's driven management down, and it's driven our ability then to layer video on top of that, so we can do face-to-face communications much more, but we do it from where we are. From a McDonald's in Walsall that I was doing it last week, to the amusement of lots of kids in there, and collaborating with my colleagues in Scandinavia and the US, with customers in the UK. The technology drives a different way of approaching things, and Cisco is at the heart of that technology. So we've gone from austerity to deliver operational efficiencies. Consumerization allows us to use our devices wherever we want to do them, rather than being told what to do by the corporation. And the data, well, where is the data? Often now it's in the cloud. We don't care whether it's on my own device. As long as I've got access via networks, I can do it anywhere. And it drives that business of innovation through the collaboration, whether it's from mobile, social, visual, and virtual communications on there. So that's a whistle-stop tour through what Cisco has done over 25 plus years, but we're now at that point now where what we've got in our pockets, our bags, and in our hands allows us to do business wherever we are by the underlying technologies that are enabling that glue to go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.